The ceiling fan turned slowly, stirring the stale air of the small studio apartment. Ethan sat on the edge of his bed, his elbows resting on his knees, staring at the eviction notice taped to the cracked wall across from him. The words, "Final warning," burned into his mind like a quiet sentence. It wasn't that he hadn't tried, he had, but everything seemed to collapse faster than he could rebuild. Once, Ethan believed that moving to the city would be the beginning of something new. He was 27, full of dreams, ready to paint stories that spoke to the human heart. But now, the brushes on his desk were dry, and the rent envelope remained empty. His landlord, Mr. Cole, had already given him 2 extensions. This time, he'd said in a voice that was polite but firm, "I can't keep waiting forever, Ethan." Ethan rubbed his eyes. It wasn't just the money. It was everything: the breakup with Ryan, the rejection letters from galleries, the endless cycle of temporary jobs that paid too little and demanded too much. His reflection in the window looked like a stranger, tired eyes, unshaven face, and a quiet despair that clung to him like dust. When a soft knock echoed on the door, his chest tightened. He already knew who it was. Demar. Cole stood outside, dressed neatly as always, pressed shirt, a faint scent of cedar cologne, and that same expression that was neither cruel nor kind. He was in his late 40s, composed, confident, the kind of man who seemed untouched by the chaos of the city. Ethan wished he could borrow just a fraction of that calm. "Ethan," Mr. Cole said, stepping inside when invited. His eyes scanned the room briefly before settling on Ethan's face. "I need to be direct. It's been 3 months. I've tried to be understanding, but the building has expenses too." Ethan nodded, his voice barely above a whisper. "I know, and I'm not ignoring it. I just need a little more time. I'm working on commissions again. Maybe next week." Mr. Cole raised a hand gently, stopping him. "You've said that before." There was no malice in his tone, only weariness. "I don't want to evict you, Ethan. I don't enjoy that sort of thing. But this situation can't continue." The silence that followed was heavy, awkward, and strangely intimate. Ethan felt his throat tighten. "Please," he said, almost ashamed of the desperation in his own voice. "Just one more chance." Mr. Cole studied him for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Then he sighed, stepping closer. "There might be another way," he said quietly. Ethan frowned. "What do you mean?" Mr. Cole's eyes softened, but his words were deliberate. "You don't have to pay this month's rent, Ethan. I'll clear it, if you agree to spend one night with me. Just one." For a second, Ethan thought he had misheard. Then the words sank in like cold rain. His breath caught. "You're joking, right?" Cole didn't answer. His face remained calm, but there was something wounded in his eyes, a loneliness Ethan hadn't noticed before. Ethan felt heat rise in his chest, a mixture of anger, disbelief, and something else he couldn't name. "I can't believe you'd even ask me that," he whispered. "I understand how it sounds," Mr. Cole replied softly. "I'm not trying to humiliate you. But I'm offering what I can. Think about it. You don't have to decide right now." He turned to leave, pausing at the doorway. "You've got until tomorrow morning." When the door closed, Ethan stood frozen. His mind raced through every possible emotion: shame, confusion, and an uncomfortable curiosity about why Mr. Cole had said it so calmly, almost sorrowfully. He sat back on his bed, staring at the blank canvas by the window. The city lights bled through the curtain, throwing streaks of gold across the floor. Survival or dignity, which one was worth more tonight? Ethan's thoughts tangled into whispers. Would one night change anything? Would it destroy what was left of me? He hated that part of him even considered it. But the reality of the rent notice and his empty wallet left no room for pride. His phone buzzed once, a new message. From Mr. Cole. "Think about it. I'll understand whatever you decide." Ethan put the phone face down and stared at the ceiling, feeling a hollow ache spread through his chest. Outside, thunder rolled faintly in the distance. Tomorrow, he would have to make a choice that could either save him, or shatter everything he still believed about himself. Ethan woke before sunrise, though he hadn't really slept. The hum of the city filtered through his thin window, distant traffic, early footsteps, the quiet rhythm of another day beginning. But for him, time felt suspended. The decision he'd been avoiding pressed on his chest like a stone that he sat by the window with a cold cup of coffee, watching the pale orange light stretch across the skyline. His thoughts drifted back to Mr. Cole's offer. Every time he tried to reject it outright, a harsh whisper of reality followed: "You don't have the rent. You don't have anywhere else to go." When the clock struck 9, a knock came, soft, deliberate. Ethan's heart pounded. He opened the door to find Mr. Cole standing there, calm as ever, a paper cup of coffee in one hand. "You've made up your mind?" Cole asked quietly. Ethan didn't answer right away. Words caught in his throat. He simply nodded once, a gesture heavy with conflict. Mr. Cole's eyes flickered, something like regret, and he motioned for Ethan to follow. The hallway felt colder than usual. Each step echoed, measured, like the countdown to something irreversible. When they reached Mr. Cole's apartment, Ethan hesitated. The door opened to a softly lit space, warm, clean, faintly scented with lavender and old books. It was nothing like he expected. A table was set for two. Simple food. A single candle flickering between them. No tension, no threat, just quiet civility. Mr. Cole gestured to a chair. "Eat something," he said. "You look like you haven't in days." Ethan sat, unsure what to feel. He noticed the older man's hands, steady, careful, as he poured wine into 2 glasses. The air between them was awkward but strangely gentle. "I didn't invite you here to make you feel small," Mr. Cole began, his voice low. "I know what it means to be cornered by life. I wasn't trying to buy you. He trailed off, searching for words. "I've been alone a long time, Ethan. Maybe I asked the wrong way." Ethan looked down at his plate. "You still asked," he said softly. "I know." Cole sighed, leaning back. "And you're free to walk away. The offer stands, but so does your dignity." That disarmed Ethan more than any demand could have. He expected pressure, not understanding. Something about Mr. Cole's tone, quiet, remorseful, made him stay. For the first time in weeks, he felt seen, even if he didn't want to admit it. As dinner went on, conversation filled the silence. They spoke about ordinary things, music, books, the changing seasons. Cole shared that his husband had died 6 years ago, and since then, silence had been his only company. Ethan listened, surprised by the honesty. At one point, Cole said, "Loneliness makes people do strange things. Sometimes it makes them cruel, sometimes kind, and sometimes, confused." Ethan met his gaze across the table. There was no hunger in it, only an ache he recognized in himself. For a brief moment, he saw not a landlord, but a man who had been just as lost. Hours passed unnoticed. The candle burned low, and rain began to tap against the window. The city outside blurred into streaks of silver and gold. Ethan felt the weight in his chest ease, replaced by a strange calm he hadn't known he needed. When he finally stood to leave, Mr. Cole followed him to the door. Neither spoke. The silence between them said more than words could, but as Ethan turned the handle, Cole's voice stopped him. "You don't owe me anything," he said. "Not tonight. Not ever. Just, take care of yourself." Ethan turned, searching his expression for hidden motives, but found none. Only sincerity, tinged with quiet sorrow. Outside, the hallway light flickered as Ethan walked back to his apartment. His mind swirled with questions he couldn't answer. Why had Cole changed his tone? Why did part of him feel relief, even warmth? On his small kitchen table, a folded note awaited him. He hadn't noticed it before. Cole must have left it earlier. The handwriting was neat. "No rent this month. Don't mistake kindness for charity. The world breaks all of us, some just find gentler ways to survive." Ethan sat down slowly, tracing the words with his thumb. His chest tightened, but not from shame this time, from gratitude he didn't know how to express. As the rain deepened outside, he leaned back, closed his eyes, and let the sound wash over him. For the first time in months, he didn't feel entirely alone. But that fragile peace carried a shadow, the quiet understanding that this night, however kind, had changed something inside him that he didn't know yet if it was healing or damage. Only that it was real, and real things, he had learned, always come with consequences. Days passed quietly after that first meeting, yet Daniel's visit replayed in Ethan Ward's mind like an unfinished sentence. Every sound, the soft hum of lawnmowers, the chatter of children in the distance, seemed sharper, as if life had shifted just slightly. It wasn't what Daniel said that lingered, but what he didn't. Ethan told himself it was nothing. He had neighbors before. He'd had conversations that brushed close to vulnerability and ended politely at the door. But this felt different, like reading a story you already knew the ending to, yet couldn't stop turning the pages. One late afternoon, as the sun bent low behind the trees, another knock came. Ethan opened the door to see Daniel, again holding that easy, uncertain smile. "I promise I'm not here for more sugar," Daniel joked. "I just thought, maybe we could grab a coffee." "I needed to step out of the house." Ethan hesitated for a heartbeat, then nodded. "Coffee sounds good." Inside, the atmosphere was casual, two men sitting at the same small table as before, cups steaming, the scent of roasted beans filling the silence. Yet beneath that stillness lay something neither of them could name. Daniel talked first. "Clara's been away most nights," he said, tracing the rim of his cup. "Her work's demanding. I try to be supportive, but lately, it feels like I'm cheering from the sidelines of my own life." Ethan listened quietly. "Marriage sounds like a constant act of endurance." Daniel chuckled softly. "Maybe. It used to feel easy. Now it's just quiet. Too quiet." Ethan wanted to ask why come here then. But the answer was already in Daniel's eyes. He didn't want to be fixed, just understood. Their meetings became habit after that. Sometimes Daniel would show up in the evenings with leftover dinner, other times with stories from his day. They would talk about music, about the books they never finished, about the things men rarely say aloud. There was never any plan to see each other again, yet somehow, each day found a reason. One evening, clouds gathered over the neighborhood. Rain began to fall in sudden, heavy sheets. Daniel arrived at Ethan's door, hair damp, shirt clinging to his shoulders. "I was out walking," he said, catching his breath, "and it started pouring. I thought I'd wait it out here, if that's all right." Ethan stepped aside wordlessly. They sat near the window, watching the rain crash against the glass. Lightning flickered across the sky, revealing Daniel's thoughtful expression. "You ever feel," Daniel began, voice quiet, "like you're living the wrong version of your life?" Ethan glanced at him. "All the time." Daniel exhaled, running a hand through his wet hair. "I keep wondering when I stopped feeling connected. Clara's great, she really is, but we don't talk anymore." "Not really. It's like we're polite strangers who share a roof." The sound of rain filled the room, a rhythm that seemed to pulse between them. Ethan felt the air change, denser, more fragile. "You deserve to feel seen," Ethan said finally. "Everyone does." Daniel's gaze met his. "You make it sound so simple." "It isn't," Ethan admitted, voice low. "But sometimes, it starts with honesty." Something unspoken passed between them, a moment heavy enough to bend the silence. Neither reached out. Neither moved. But the awareness was there, unmistakable. Then Daniel looked away, the spell broken. "I should go before it gets late," he murmured, standing abruptly. Ethan nodded, though something inside him resisted. "Drive safe." When the door closed, Ethan remained still, listening to the rain soften into a drizzle. He pressed his palms against the counter, steadying himself against a wave of confusion. This wasn't supposed to happen. He hadn't invited it, and Daniel hadn't planned it, yet both stood now at the edge of something fragile and forbidden. That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. The sound of the rain haunted him, echoing Daniel's words, the wrong version of your life that he finally wrote in his journal. Some people don't enter your world to stay, they arrive to remind you that you're still capable of feeling something real. The next morning, Ethan stepped outside to find the rain gone and the air washed clean. On his porch sat a small jar of sugar with a note beneath it. The handwriting was Daniel's, "Thanks for the coffee. I think I needed that more than I realized." Ethan stood there for a long time, holding the note as a faint warmth spread through him. Whatever this was, friendship, escape, temptation, it had taken root. And though neither of them had crossed any visible line, something between